Hello, today I'm going to walk you through the trading card website used for your mathematician project. So I'm in Schoology right now in our course, and if you select the mathematician project folder, inside this folder, besides all the useful links I've posted for you, at the end you'll see the trading card maker link. So if you open this up, it takes you to this page with this white screen. And that's because the trading card maker website is not compatible with Schoology. So what you need to do is you need to click these blue words to open in a new tab. And once you're here, it'll walk you through all the steps to make the trading card. So for entering your name, you're going to type in your name, and we're going to press start. I'm going to make a card with you right now on Dr. Erwin Schrödinger. So for topic, you're going to enter their name, and then you have all these 8 options for different things to select. So Erwin Schrödinger was a real person, but we are not going to select real person. That's because if you select real person, it takes you to a pre-filled out page, but you don't get to edit the categories. So they have background, they have major events, development, memorable interactions, personal impression. And while these are great, it doesn't really fit this project because, like personal impression, you don't know your mathematician personally. So it's not really helpful for us. But what we can do, so I'm going to start over, and we're going to cancel out this one. We're going to make one, same person, but we're going to select Create Your Own. And doing this gives us the ability to enter different information for these categories. So what I'm going to do, it starts off by filling out the person's name at the top of the page. And the first thing we're going to do is insert a picture. So once we're in, we're going to click on the box here that says click here to insert an image. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow the website to select an image that is already saved on the computer. So I went to another tab that you can't see, and I saved this picture of Schrödinger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Choose Image, and I'm going to select that picture, which just so happens to be this one. Now from here, it gives me a couple of options. I can move the image up, or I can move it down. I can move it to the left. I can move it to the right. I can zoom in. I can zoom out. So I'm going to get a nice angle. You want the face to take up most of the image, and you don't want any white space on the edges. So the picture I chose wasn't too great because to get his full face, I need to chop off a little hairline, and so there's no white edges. So I'm going to select, and I'm pretty happy with that image, so I'm going to press OK, and it automatically fills it in right there. Now, we need to fill in sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to tell you what these need to say. So for section number 1, we're going to enter life facts. So this entire section underneath is going to be the life facts section, and we're going to break that down into parts. So both of these unindented sections right here, the first one and the second one, are basically the 2 sections within life facts. So the first one we're going to do is birth, and the second one we're going to do is death. Because most of the important information, the important life facts about your person will be fit into these 2 categories. So in the birth section, I'm going to lock that in because we're done adding the titles. This section right here, see how it says optional, does not show on card? These are just a place where you might want to jot down some facts or guiding questions to help you fill this out. What you type in here is what's going to actually show up on the card. So we're going to start off with the date of birth, and we'll then separate that. So I'll fill in his date of birth. So you type in their date of birth, and we're going to separate date of birth from the next category, which would be location of birth. And he was born in Vienna, Austria. And then we have one more for this category, and it's going to be where they lived. And so I filled out all the different places he lived. For some of your mathematicians, this might only be one place. Schrödinger lived in several, as you can see. He had a very interesting history regarding Nazi Germany and the different places in Europe and the world where he worked and studied. So this is your birth section. Now we're going to move over to the death section. The death section is going to be very similar. It's going to be date of death. And then you're going to separate that from cause of death, and we'll separate that from location of death. And so I'll fill this in really quick. So I filled out that information for Schrodinger. You'll also notice that I added this information in that invisible box, just as the general format. So for birth, date of birth, location of birth, and where they lived, death, date of death, cause of death, and location of death. If you have extra room here and there's any interesting facts surrounding their death, you might want to include it if you have any room. For section number 2, so what I'm going to do is just select section number 2. This is going to be their mathematical contributions. And so inside mathematical contributions, we're going to break it down into 2 categories, discoveries and awards. I've already hidden these 2 invisible boxes because there's nothing really to guide us when filling this out. We're just going to list out their mathematical discoveries and their awards that they earned in their lives. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I've inserted his discoveries and his awards. And you'll notice a couple of things. So for discoveries, he had the Schrodinger weighting equation and Schrodinger's cat. And then I also added a note that he contributed to the unified field theory and colorimetry. He did not discover the unified field theorem or colorimetry. So what I did was I added that contributed to. So if you're having trouble finding things that they necessarily discovered, you can add a note saying they contributed to the development of those things. Under awards, I picked the top 4 awards. He won a Nobel Peace Prize, the Max Planck Medal, the Haidinger Prize, and the Matsushita Medal. But with the Nobel Prize in Physics, I also put the year that all of these were awarded to him. I put in brackets Paul Dirac because they shared that Nobel Prize together. So it was one prize for both of them. So if you have that they shared an award with another person or people, that might be a nice addition to make your card fill up a little bit so it doesn't look so bare. If we flip it to the back, now that we have sections 1 and 2 done, section 3 is going to be famous associates. So I broke down famous associates to mathematicians and scientists. And then in the invisible box, I've added a note. So I put mathematicians/scientists up top and politicians/celebrities on bottom. And so the reason I did this is because I want you to have options available to meet the requirements of the people in your person's life. So let's say they didn't work with any other famous mathematicians, or they were in ancient Greek and they didn't have other mathematicians at the time to work with. So if possible, so you might be able to find that your person was friends with certain politicians or celebrities. So what you can do is you combine mathematicians and scientists into one category above, and then make politicians and celebrities a category below. Let's say you can't find any mathematicians or scientists that they worked with. You could do politicians and celebrities. You can do any combination of those 4. Ideally, we'd like to focus on mathematicians and scientists, and then include other people where appropriate. But if that's not possible and you can only find information where they're associated with politicians or celebrities, those are okay associates as well. So I'm going to fill out this section for Schrodinger. Now, Schrodinger was actually not a mathematician. He was a physicist, so a scientist. So for his 2 mathematicians, Paul Dirac and Albert Einstein, both of these guys were also scientists, but because of their work in as mathematicians, and the fact that Schrodinger was involved with several other scientists as well, I put Paul Dirac and Albert Einstein into the mathematicians category. Ideally, you want 2 to 3 at least for these, but if you're unable to find that, it's okay to have less. At the very least, you want at least 1. For section 4, this is going to be significance, and it will be broken down into 2 main questions. And those 2 main questions are, how did their work influence mathematics, and then how did their work influence the real world? The green section in your Organizing Your Thoughts table will be really helpful to help you fill out this section. You're not going to find these answers on some website anywhere. You're going to have to kind of connect the dots on your own and think about, why did what they do matter to math, and why did what they do matter to the real world? It is going to take some thinking, and this is probably going to be the hardest section both on your Organizing Your Thoughts table and the trading card to fill out. But I really want you to challenge yourself and answer these questions fully. For this section, this should be in probably complete sentences unless you have really concise, well thought out bullet points and you have several of those. So the only reason this would be in phrases would be if they had like 3 or 4 things they contributed to mathematics and you want to include all of them. So I'm going to fill this out for Schrodinger. So for part 1, I put in Schrodinger's work on the unified field theory helped other mathematicians add to their work to create a collective equation. Again, he was not a mathematician, he was a scientist. So this section was a little light for Schrodinger. How did their work influence the real world? Schrodinger's wave equation and Schrodinger's cat helped physicists in their work surrounding light and particle physics. Yours might be more specific than that. So a lot of what Schrodinger did, what he's most well known for, is Schrodinger's cat, which is a thought experience that basically explains how light behaves as both a particle and a wave. So it helped other physicists with the equation and the thought experiment work on their understanding of light, which was then transferred over into our use of light in the real world. So lasers, optics, stuff like that. Yours will probably look a little different than mine because you have scientists. Category number 5, this is the last one. This is a choose your own. So you'll have to choose a title. I'm just going to put in the placeholder choose your own. And to give you some potential ideas, I'm going to list them all out in this first section up here. So ideas could look like anything such as occupations, teachers, education, quote, interesting fact, or a problem that they were really well known for solving or an equation that they found. So I'll enter that. So I entered those possible ideas right here. I'm not going to lock it. And I put placeholder 1 and placeholder 2 because I don't know what your choices are going to be. So I'm going to fill out this section really quick for Schrodinger. So for the sections I chose, I named this miscellaneous because I thought the 2 most interesting facts about Schrodinger that were not already included on the card were his involvement in World War II and then his book, What is Life? I actually really wanted to do Schrodinger's wave equation for the second one, so a famous equation, but unfortunately it uses some advanced math symbols which aren't compatible with the trading card website, so I couldn't copy and paste it into here. Some of your mathematician's equations might be simple enough where you can copy and paste into this box. Other ones won't be. So these are some options. You don't have to do World War II and quotes, for example. You have all of these possible ideas to choose from, plus anything that is in that red, yellow, green table. Now, to backtrack for a second, some of you may not have information on their date of birth or date of death, specifically date of death, especially if your person's still alive. So if your death section is unfilled, what you can do is you can replace the death section with one of these possible sections from the miscellaneous. So you can, if you don't know when or how they died, you could replace it with education or teachers or occupation or quote or anything like that. Similarly, if there was absolutely no one you could find for famous associates, first talk to me and let's see if we can find out any famous associates that your person worked with. But if there truly is none, what we can do is we can do 2 choose your own categories, and I'll help you choose what that section is. In order to replace section 3, famous associates, with another choose your own, we need to verify that together before you do that. Okay? So we're done. Here's my entire trading card, all finished. I'm going to press finish editing, and it brings me to this screen. So what you can do is you can add a new card, or you can finish, or you can start over. We're done, so let's press finish. And we have a couple options. Option number 1 is print. You don't need to do that. I will print all of these and laminate them for us, so you don't have to worry about that. But what we're going to do is we're going to share final. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose a name. So we did a Schrodinger card. And we're going to send it to, I would suggest sending it to yourself. I'm going to send it to myself. So you're going to enter your email address here. You could send it directly to me if you wanted to as well. The issue becomes if you send it to me, you don't have a copy, which you need for Seesaw. So I changed my mind. You want to type in your email address and then forward that email to me. Okay? And then it's going to say it's from someone, so I'm going to copy and paste my email address because I'm sending it from me to me. So this is, you're going to probably put your email address and your email address. You can press send,